So I'm out on the Luge trail doing a little demo day. Got the Kona Process 153. This is the 27.5-inch version. I'll put some specs on the board and tell you what it's all about. Just want to try this bike out today, see how it runs. So this is the bike I'm going to be reviewing today. It's the Kona Process 153 Carbon. You can see the MSRP for it is $47.99. I'm also going to quickly go over the rest of the 153 models. This is their top of the line carbon model starting at $6,000. This is their top of the line aluminum versions in 27.5-inch and 29-inch at $3,600. This is the mid-range aluminum model in the 27.5-inch and 29-inch starting at $3,000. And of course the entry aluminum model at $21.99. So this is the bike I rode at the demo day. I just wanted to go over a couple of the key features and components. The main part of the frame is carbon and the rear triangle is aluminum. The front shock is a RockShox Lyric Solo Air 160mm travel. The rear shock is a RockShox Deluxe RT trunnion mount. The drivetrain is provided by Sram. It's a GX Eagle 12-speed. The brakes are also Sram. It's the Guide R brakes. And the tires front and rear are Maxxis Minion DHFs, a 2.5 in the front and a 2.3 in the rear. This is an Enduro bike, and I wanted to quickly go over a couple of the key geometry specifications. The most important measurement is the head tube at 66 degrees. Next would be the seat tube angle at 76 degrees. The next measurement would be the reach at 510 millimeters. And the last measurement would be the wheelbase at 1255 millimeters. I'm out here with Derek on the Luge trail. He's trying out the Kona Satori. I'll put some specs online or on the video, and he's going to check that one out too today. Looks pretty good. It's like a mid-travel bike. 140 up front and 130 in the rear. So I'm on the Kona Process. Coming to the first little section here. Quick little bouncy section. Bike feels good. This bike has more reach than my Rain 2. About 10 or 15 millimeters, but I don't really feel the difference. It doesn't feel super long to me. I do need to adjust the height of the seat. The seat's a little low, but so far it feels good. Went down that first section and all of my shocks were locked out, so I'm sure it'll feel smoother than it did. I'm not sure exactly what shocks are on here. I didn't look at it. I want to say it's 160, 160. Or 160, 150. But even in the lockout, it feels pretty good. Tires are a little softer than I normally run. But we'll see how it does. Oh, climbing up. Woo! Had to put on the afterburners. Derek caught me right there. Lock up my rear shock again. Alright, we'll see how. So this bike has the Eagle drivetrain on it. And it's crazy how easy it is. On that 50-tooth cassette ring, I'm just cruising right now, like barely putting any effort into it. And I'm just cruising up this hill like it's nothing. Yeah, that little uphill part right there is not hard, but this bike went up it a lot easier. My bike does not have the Eagle drivetrain. We'll see if I can get up this whole section right here. I'll probably just fast forward this video, but I'm going to record the whole thing. Yeah, that's good. Let's try again. That's good. All right, now I can feel the reach. So I don't think this bike goes uphill any better than my bike, except for the fact that this has the Eagle drivetrain on it, and it has that 50 tooth cassette ring. That's making it a little easier to get up these hills compared to my bike. But if it didn't have that, probably pretty much the same. That last hill I got up about halfway and had to get off. The one thing I have noticed is that the front end of this bike feels pretty good. The front fork, this is a Lyric, where on my bike I have a Yari, so the Lyric is, you know, top of the line. For like, the Lyric is 1, the Pike is 2, the Yari is number 3. This Lyric feels pretty smooth. I haven't ridden my bike since I got the front end dialed in a little bit differently. So it's in my truck. I might do a lap on it just so I can compare same day, same conditions. But this front fork definitely feels a little bit smoother. torque felt pretty smooth going down that section. Didn't feel any faster than my bike though. Oh, go baby, go! Woo! Crazy on a frickin' demo bike. Yeah. All right, I can take it easy. Woo! Get on the pedals, baby. All right, Luge Trail. Kona process. Ooh, little mud. Feels good so far. Looks like my leg is hitting the rear. What is that? That's weird. Oh, I need more gears. Come on, baby. Speed it up. All my shocks are on. Come on, get some speed. Oh, it's weird, the trunnion mount on the left side is hitting my calf. It doesn't feel good. Which is weird. It's not doing it on the right side. Oh, that feels horrible. Can't switch legs, I gotta keep my left foot high. Little loose. Ah, you missed a big jump. Whew. I'll tell you what, these guide arm brakes, I think that's what these are. They're a little more progressive than I would like. I'm used to my XT brakes, which are like a heart attack when they stop. I guess it depends on how you bike in the field. Woo! Bike, Derek, bike. All right. Oh, when you're climbing? Yeah. Yeah, you gotta lean. Yeah.
It taken off by some biker. So
right?
Don't worry about how it completes your outfit.
So I just finished the luge run down here at Cook's Corner. The Process 153, it rode well. Very similar to my Rain. Didn't feel any different. Actually, I'm used to my Rain, so my Rain feels better, but that Lyric fork felt pretty good in the front. Nope, how's the bottom out? How'd you like your bike, Garrick?
Loved it.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's nice to have a little squish in the back, saving my ass.
That bright orange is pretty bright orange.
Matches the helmet.
Right? So the first thing I want to talk about is the small problem I had with the bike. During the downhill section of the luge trail, something, at first I didn't know what it was, something was hitting my left calf. Now I am a regular footed surfer, which means my left foot is forward and my right foot is back. And when I'm in the attack position, that's the way I have my feet. I have my left foot, you know, when my feet are side by side, my left foot is forward, my right foot is back. So the knee pads that I wear are a full knee pad and shin guard, and it comes down, the front part of it comes down, you know, like midway around the front part of my shin. And what was happening is the trunnion mount was just, my calf was just rubbing the trunnion mount, and what was happening is my calf was getting pinched between the trunnion mount and my shin guard. Now if I didn't have the shin guard on, I probably wouldn't even have noticed it. You know, I tend to ride with my legs a little closer together anyways. Probably not the best way to do it. I know you're probably supposed to have your knees a little bit farther out. I ride with my knees a little bit closer together. And because I've taken so many pedal strikes to my shins, I wear full knee pad and shin guards. So that's what the problem was. Not everybody obviously is going to have that problem. I'm 6'3", 230 pounds. And I have bigger than average size calves. Most people, of all of my friends, I have the biggest calves of all of them. It's not a, I'm not bragging, it's just size comparison. So for most people, it's probably not going to be a problem. And it wouldn't be a problem for me either, most likely, if I wasn't wearing the shin guards. So I'm not gonna, it's not a bad thing about the bike. I just wanted to let you know what was happening to me on the bike, but it's not something, it's not a deal breaker for me. I wouldn't not buy this bike because of what was happening. I would probably just have to adjust my stance a little bit, or just get used to it, or maybe just wear a different type of knee pad or shin guard. So my final thoughts on the bike. I liked the bike a lot. It rode really well. It's actually funny, it's pretty similar in looks to my Rain. You can see my Rain in the background here. Very similar. It's a very simple design. It's not all crazy. There's not a bunch of, you know, top tubes crossing each other or anything like that. I like the way the bike looks. Black, I mean, you can't go wrong with black. It had a little splashes of yellow on it. It looked really good. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about are the components. At $4,800, that's carbon frame. That's pretty much, you know, all of these bike companies kind of have similar prices as far as mid-level and top of the line when it comes to their carbon bikes. The Kona's top of the line carbon bike is less expensive than, like, say for instance, Giant, but it's their mid-level. I guess, of the carbon frames, it's their lower of the two offerings. And the components that they put on the bike they worked really well for me. I like RockShox. I've had RockShox on 3 of my bikes now. It comes with the Lyric. The Lyric worked really well on the trail I was riding. It was great going uphill. It was great going downhill. I'm used to that kind of setup to where I can just reach down and close off the front shock when I'm going uphill, and it's a real easy reach down, boom, pop it right back off, you know, full open wide when I'm going to go downhill. The rear shock, the Monarch Deluxe RT, I'm looking at my notes. It's the same shock that I have on my Reign 2, so I'm exactly used to that. It's a great shock. It works really well, and also, you know, it has the big switch on the bottom, so you can easily switch it to full lock, not full lockout, but their, I guess, uphill setting, and then full open as well. It's really easy to reach down and do that too. So that worked really well. The Sram Gx Drivetrain, you know, I'm not a professional. I haven't ridden every bike out there. I've only been doing this for about 6-7 months now. The few bikes that I have ridden, you know, I've ridden a couple of Shimano drivetrains. The GX drivetrain, the Sram GX drivetrain with that 50-tooth cassette is just amazing. I can't even imagine, like, if you had the X01 or the XX1, it's even lighter, and I'm sure the shifting's even better. But on the GX, it's amazing, especially on an enduro bike. When you want to climb hills, you know, technical stuff, I'm horrible at climbing technical stuff, but like the local stuff I have around here, like Santiago Oaks and Aliso Viejo, there's a lot of semi-steep hills, and I like to get the workout of climbing those hills. And with that GX drivetrain, it makes it light and day, or night and day. It makes it a lot easier climbing hills with that GX drivetrain, and it's amazing. The other part, one of the other components, are the SRAM Guide R brakes. Now, I am not a big fan of the SRAM Guide Rs. It's not that they're bad, they're too progressive for me. I have on my bike the Shimano XTs, and the Shimano XTs are like a heart attack. You pull that brake, and it grabs, and it grabs hard. And I need that. I mean, I'm a bigger guy, 230 pounds. I need my brakes. I need to feel my brakes grabbing. Whereas the Guide Rs, they're good brakes, and they probably stop in the same amount of distance, but they're just too progressive. Like, I really have to yank down on that caliper or the lever to feel comfortable. Whereas my XTs, but I'm used to it. I mean, if I rode the Guide Rs for probably a month or so, I'd probably get used to it, but they're just not my favorite. I like the Shimano XTs. The last main component on the bike are the tires, and the tires they put on this one are the Maxxis Minion DHFs. I love the DHF. I actually just bought a brand new DHF for my bike. It's a 2.5 in the front, it's a 2.3 in the rear. And I believe both tires on the Kona are the 3C Max Terra tires, so that's their top of the line tire. There's only one tire above that which has better grip, which is a max grip, but I don't really think you need that. The DHFs work really well around here. There's a lot of dry, hard pack conditions, and the DHF just works great for me. A lot of people have it, and it's a great tire. They have one on the front and one on the rear. I've seen some people do that as well, so it works really good. So another thing I want to talk about is the geometry of the bike. This is an enduro bike. It's not completely slacked out. The head tube angle is, I'm looking at my notes, is 66 degrees. The seat tube angle is 76 degrees, which is actually really steep. It's probably the steepest seat tube angle on an enduro bike that I've ridden. Like, I have my Reign. My Reign is totally slacked out. The head tube on that is 65, and the rear, I believe, is like 73 or something. It's something stupid. A couple other bikes I've ridden, they've been in that 65. The head tubes are usually on an enduro bike anywhere between 64 to 66, maybe 67, depending. But the Kona the seat tube angle at 76 is probably the steepest bike that I've ridden, and it makes it easier to climb hills. You know, it kind of puts your weight a little bit more forward. Your hips are a little closer to the, you know, directly above the bottom bracket, and it makes it easier to climb. I mean, I climbed really well with this bike. Probably the best bike I've climbed with of all the bikes that I've ridden, and I've ridden maybe 5 or 6 brand new bikes. This one climbed really well. What else? The reach. When I got on the bike, the Miles, the person that was working there for Kona, typically Kona bikes, the reach is a bit longer than some of the other bikes on the market, and this is the XL. I rode the XL sized frame, and the reach on this bike was 510 millimeters. 510 millimeters. On my Rain 2, for instance, the reach is 495 millimeters. So 15 millimeters, it's not even an inch. I think that's like 3/4 of an inch. So it's not a huge difference. I could feel a little bit of the difference once I got the bike riding the way I wanted to. I had to put some more air in the tires, and I had to raise the seat tube a little bit. Once I got the seat tube height where I wanted it, I could feel the little bit more of reach that this bike had, but it didn't feel bad. It actually felt really nice. So, I mean, but like I said, I'm a bigger person, so, and then as you go down to smaller sizes, the reach obviously decreases. The last thing I want to talk about is the wheelbase. The wheelbase on this bike was 1255 millimeters. That's about average for an enduro bike, for a 27.5-inch enduro bike. My Rain is very similar to that. I think it's a couple millimeters longer. It's like 1258, I think. So that felt really well. That felt really good. Going down the trail, it didn't feel super long. It actually felt really good going down the trail. And I went back that same day. I went back and I rode my bike down the same trail, and I had to, unfortunately, I had to delete my Strava time for the Kona because I forgot to shut it off at the end of the run, and I was driving around on my truck. So I went back, I watched the video unedited, and the Kona, I went down the trail in about 4 minutes and 20 seconds, and on my bike I did it in 4 minutes 5 seconds. So I mean, 15 seconds for me, that's a pretty big difference. Especially considering that, you know, this bike wasn't completely set up for me as far as the rebound and the air and the shocks and all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty good considering it's a demo bike. You know, the demo bikes, I'm sure, take a beating. Miles probably does a great job keeping them maintained, but you know, it's a demo bike, and it was my first time on that bike, so 15-second difference is not bad at all. So final thought on the bike is it's a great bike. It rode really well. It was comfortable for me. The shocks, you know, the suspension worked really well. The bike did great going down the Luge trail. Other than the one small thing with the trunnion mount hitting my calf, but like I said, that's not something most people are going to have a problem with, and I probably wouldn't have a problem with it either. You know, just changing one little aspect of how I stand on the bike. It rode really well. It was great. Like I said, it was great uphill. It was great downhill. It was very comfortable. It felt very similar to my bike. So yes, I would definitely recommend it. Miles, the person working for Kona that was doing, you know, was setting up all the bikes for the demo and everything. Miles was great. The company seems, I've looked at a couple of their posts online, and the emails that I got back from them as far as like the waivers go and stuff like that. Pretty funny stuff, you know. So it's definitely a bike I would recommend. It could be a bike, maybe not specifically the Process 153 that I would buy in the future, because obviously I already have an enduro bike. Maybe I'd get something a little bit more trail rated, or XC, you know, something like that, like a mid-travel bike. My friend Derek, he rode the Satori, and that's like a mid-travel bike, and he liked that bike a lot too. He was going down a couple of sections. I was actually had to try a little harder to catch him because he's used to a hardtail bike, and he liked the Satori as well. So yes, it's definitely a company I would recommend. It's definitely a bike I would recommend. And that's it. Thanks a lot. Okay, so one other thing you can do after you've watched this video, please share, like, comment if you have any questions about the bike. I usually answer questions within like a couple of days. But share it, like it, subscribe. And the other thing you can do too is click on the videos I have up in the corners here. They're going to send you to other playlists of mine, other videos of mine, and if you like what you see here, click on the logo in the center, the Urban Outdoorsman logo, Urban Outdoorsman SoCal logo, to subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.